Hi, everyone. I'm James Garbutt.
And I'm Denny Dumas.
And this is the Garbutt Dumas Real Estate Podcast.
All right, Jamie, we're going to do a little get to know your hosts here. Got some questions. They're going back and forth. First one for you. You live in Queen's Park, New Westminster. Top 3 neighborhoods that you and your family would live outside of Queen's Park, New Westminster, because I know you love that neighborhood.
That is a good one. That is a good one, Denny. Okay, I'm going to go with Ioco, Port Moody.
Yeah.
Deep Cove, North Van. I mean, it would be cheating to say Glenbrook North right next to New West Queen's Park.
And you have lived there previously.
Yeah, I have lived there as well. Okay, so Ioco, Port Moody, Deep Cove, North Van. Oh, that third one. I mean, Anmore, Belcarra, Horseshoe Bay. I mean, those are the areas that stick out to me the most.
Follow-up question. Yeah. Outside of Greater Vancouver, neighborhood that you would consider living? Maybe Squamish, maybe somewhere on the island?
100% Squamish. I would get divorced though. My wife would leave me. So I would settle for Whistler and the chance of making our marriage last. But Whistler would be, honestly, Squamish and Whistler are front runners. And I would probably edge out Whistler over Squamish, to be honest with you. Whistler is, if I could live anywhere in the world, I think it would be Whistler. Yeah.
Would you sell real estate in Whistler?
No. No, it's terrible. Well, no, sorry, I'm not going to say that. Whistler's too cyclical for me.
Yeah.
I like what we're selling. So I'm waiting for that virtual world where I could sell New West, Burnaby, Tri-City real estate from Whistler.
Yeah. What's the brewery scene like in Whistler?
I don't, no comment. No comment. On the way to Whistler, it's great.
Yeah.
Backcountry. Is it my turn, Denny?
I think so.
Okay. I'm going to... Young professional, you know, 100.
Thank you.
Young professional. You have a $600,000 to $700,000 budget. You're looking for a condo. You work downtown, so lifestyle is important to you, but you need a place that suits your needs. Denny, what would you buy? What would be, or 1 to 3 things, like maybe your first choice, second, third?
Yeah. Am I single?
You are single or married without kids, or in a relationship without kids. One of you works downtown, and you like to socialize.
Okay. The top 2 are easy. The third one's not coming to mind yet, but as I talk, I'm sure I'm going to think of something. I live in Brentwood Park right now in North Burnaby. I really like that neighborhood because of its proximity to everything. It's a 20-minute SkyTrain downtown. It is, the restaurant scene in North Burnaby is slowly getting better. And with the new mall at Brentwood, I think there's going to be a lot more in terms of amenities in the next few years. I'd say number 1B would be Port Moody.
So number 1 is Brentwood Park, just to be clear.
1A and 1B. They're
1A.
tied.
Okay, 1A.
They're tied.
Okay, 1A.
Port Moody, and it's an area that I've even considered moving to in the last few years because it has so much going for it.
Oh, yeah.
The brewery scene, the outdoors scene. It's a lot of young professional people like us. And with the West Coast Express and the SkyTrain now, the accessibility is so much better than it was 5 years ago. That would be number 2. Number 3, you're going to be sacrificing on space, absolutely, but the neighborhood is awesome, and it's somewhere I've considered living as well, is Olympic Village. I'm not really a downtown guy, but you get more for your money in Olympic Village. Having a $700,000 budget gets you into a pretty good building in a 1-bedroom, maybe a 1-and-den. And the lifestyle there, I think, would be pretty spectacular. Running along the seawall in the mornings, tons of phenomenal breweries and restaurants. Walkability is fantastic.
I like this.
The one negative about Olympic Village, and the reason that I haven't seriously considered or moved there, is proximity to where we work. So yes, if I work downtown, it's phenomenal. You could walk across the bridge on nice days. But if you're selling real estate like me throughout Greater Vancouver, in the Tri-Cities, sometimes in the Fraser Valley, it's a bit of a trek.
I agree. I want to kind of touch on your choices there. So the way I read this is Brentwood Park is the practical Denny.
Yeah, which is where I live now.
Yeah. Port Moody is the, lifestyle's more important, Denny. Yeah. I want to be a little more relaxed, away from, let's talk about, just to highlight Port Moody. Everyone's it is getting so much more conversation than it did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And 10 years ago was nice. And it was like 5 years ago that the Brewers Row started appearing. And that Brewers Row, in combination with the beautiful scenery, really put it on the map.
Totally.
And boy, like it is a hotspot now. And it was not even in just like 10 years ago, in arguably 5, it was more of a complaint. Oh, it's so far out there.
Yeah.
It was a complaint about how far it is to get out there. And it still is a traffic jam and it is far out, but yeah. So Port Moody, more relaxed, practical Denny. And then I agree with you on Olympic Village. I would say Olympic Village would be like, for myself personally, it would be like if I lived in a condo and was an empty nester in retirement, I'd want to be in Olympic Village.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The negative about that is the price point.
Yeah.
So like if you want a nice 2-bedroom condo in Olympic Village with a view, you're spending $1.5 to $2 million.
Yeah.
On like 1,200 square feet. So comparatively to where's move out to Port Moody, and that 1,100 square foot condo with a view in Cedarbrooke is $750,000.
Yeah.
So that's the difference.
If you're an Vancouver lifestyle,
totally. Can't complain. But your specific question was $700,000.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. All right. Do you have one for me?
Yeah. This is a question you're building your dream, or you are looking for your dream home with your family. You have $2 million to spend. Pros and cons, or which way are you leaning of buying a new construction home in the burbs, New West, not necessarily Burnaby with $2 million, but Tri-Cities. Are you buying a piece of land, going through the process with the city, spending 18 months of your life building the dream home, or are you shopping new construction?
Wow. Well, I mean, this could go both ways, Danny.
Let's maybe put aside your construction knowledge, because I think the average consumer in Greater Vancouver has not built a bunch of homes and done some big renos. So you and your contacts in the construction industry aside, if you're an average consumer. How
about I kind of give people a little bit of a picture of what's in my head and how I evaluate this. So I guess personally, my bias is I've built a few homes before and I've done significant renos, and it's exhausting. So I'm a little biased towards not building at this point in time. But if I had a $2 million budget to work with, I think right now it would depend on the city. But I think the way that I would approach it is right now, based on how I feel and knowing that it's a year of my excess energy to build that home, I would probably spend maybe half a year hoping that an existing home came up that was already built, or a significantly renovated home that has, that it could be older, that was significantly renovated. I sometimes love those, particularly in Queen's Park. If there was a 100-year-old home that went through $1 million renovation 10 years ago, or five years ago, that's just as good as a new home. Mm-hmm. And so I think before I committed to the full year of the build, I would give like a window where I would maybe invest in survey and plans and prep for the build. But in the 6-month window, I would hope that something comes up, because right at this point in time, I believe that when you do the math, if you're buying something in the $2 million price range, oftentimes you're able to get it for at most replacement value or lower than replacement value. And so from a strict investment point of view, particularly like Anmore, say, or where that $2 million price point, I think you can get under replacement value for $2 million. In New West Queen's Park, maybe not. But when I look at if I were to buy a piece of land tomorrow and I were to build on it a year from now, I'm going to be building probably a step code 4 home, more energy requirements. You got to think of trees nowadays. It's just a more expensive build, and it's going to take up a year of my time and energy. And I would do that if it was like Deep Cove, even though I couldn't build a home for Deep Cove in $2 million, but just because Deep Cove is one of those unique markets where it's an absolute paradise with a low average home, like comparatively to how beautiful that neighborhood is, the average home in that neighborhood isn't. Yeah. So like if I were to buy out in Deep Cove, I'd be more likely to build because I want to be there, and there's just very few options. But if I were to say buy in West Vancouver, there's a lot of options, or Anmore, a lot of options where I think I get below replacement value. Yeah. If I were in New West, that's the in between. New West is one of those in between. I don't like most new homes that come up. Yeah. But in a given year, if I were to play the odds, there's probably 1 or 2 homes that I would like. So 1 or 2 homes, Denny. So I'd say odds are Deep Cove I'd build, New West 50-50, Anmore, West Van I wouldn't build. There's my answer.
Fair enough.
All right.
It's a pretty thorough answer.
All right, Denny. Okay, let's give you a little bit more of a budget.
Okay.
You have $2 million.
Okay.
Upwards of $2 million. You're buying for yourself to enjoy, and you're not worried about investment. What are you buying?
I'm a view guy.
Oh, hold on. We got to put a little scenario. Okay, Denny, you're a view guy. You're a young view guy right now.
Yeah.
But maybe the typical $2 million budgets might be a retiree,
Okay.
say an empty nester, and they want lifestyle space. What are you recommending to, say, an empty nester with a big budget?
I think it's those same neighborhoods, to be honest.
No, but
Right?
I just wanted to help people out there.
Honestly, I think it's the same neighborhoods. I think Olympic Village is fantastic. You're not going to get as much space there. Like I said, you're probably getting, 11 to maybe 1,500 square feet for $2 million. I love that neighborhood. I think it'd be a really cool place to live. There's just so much going on in terms of like the restaurant scene and wicked little cafes and coffee shops. Tons of awesome breweries right there. Port Moody's the other one, I think. Outside of those two, if I'm downsizing, again, a view would be at the top of my list. So where else do you go for fantastic views under $2 million in Greater Vancouver? I think it's those two spots.
I mean, North Van's the only one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Well, there are others. I mean,
Yeah.
Burnaby, yes, the top of Coquitlam Central has incredible views. But yeah, in terms of amenities like social aspect, Olympic Village and Port Moody, you've nailed two hot spots.
Totally.
Lonsdale's the only one that you haven't. That comes to mind. That's similar.
Yeah, I do really like North Van. I don't know if I've spent enough time there to appreciate it as much as Olympic Village and Port Moody. I do like the accessibility of the mountains, and it has a pretty similar feel to Olympic Village, to be honest, of the restaurants and the breweries in North Van now, but lower on the list for me.
If you're living in North Van and you're listening, give Denny a call. His cell phone 604-761-6202. He needs more time there. He needs to appreciate a little more. Invite him out for drinks. He likes beer, craft beer particularly.
Especially if you have a nice patio, yeah.
All right, yeah, I respect those decisions. I'm thinking like high up, incredible view in like Newport Village or Suderbrook, and obviously Olympic Village gets you a little more modest place, but you could get the top spot in Port Moody for that price.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Last question.
All right, fire away.
We got to run.
Question, Carl.
If you're 19, 20, 21, 22 years old, just maybe out of university, knowing what you know now about selling real estate, would you get a real estate license?
I mean, if you're doing, okay, here's my answer. Do it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Don't pretend that you're a realtor when you're not, because statistically, most don't make it. Statistically, it's like restaurants. A lot of people come and go and think it's an easy way to make a living. But if I'm 19 to 20 years old and I have an interest in some aspect of real estate, absolutely. The reason I am completely biased. I love it. I was in MLS. I think I was browsing the MLS at that age. So I truly had a passion for it, and there was no doubt. But a lot of people don't know what they want to do at that time. And if you don't know what you want to do, I think real estate, the thing about real estate is it gets you in front of a lot of people. Mm-hmm. So if it works out or it doesn't, you have a lot of freedom while you're doing it, and you're meeting a lot of different people while you're doing it. So you might gain a better perspective that way. That might give you an aha moment. Oh, this is what I should be doing, because I've met so many people in this career. Separately, if it works out, you have a career that's tied into an expensive city in an expensive asset.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I always looked at it. I mean, I thought I'd love real estate, but I thought, you know what, like, more importantly, like if I'm selling houses, that should mean that I should be able to afford these houses.
Yeah.
That my income will go up with the expensive real estate in the city that I'm working in. So when I'm looking at, say, the next generation, if you want to make sure you can afford a home in 20 years or over your career, if you're very young, selling homes and being successful at selling homes is a way to get there. If you're successful at selling homes, you should be able to afford homes in the city that you're selling them in. And so I think it's a great way I think it translates to a lot of things. It's like running your own business. And if you don't stick to it, you're going to learn something, you're going to meet some people, and you're going to ideally, hopefully learn how to run a business.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes. Like and if you are buying it at that age, from my thought is leverage, use bank money young, and yeah, I mean, take risks while you're young, and you can. I mean, take that with a grain of salt, though. I don't want anyone to go bankrupt over hearing that. But I'm a big believer in higher risk when you're young. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even our experience from 4 or 5 Second Street, when we bought that in 2018, it was a bit of a challenge getting the financing for it because we both were, I guess, borderline maxed out in terms of leverage. We did find someone to do it. And I think our conversation after completion, I asked Jamie, I was like, hey, well, that was a lot harder than I thought. And Jamie's response was, guess that means we're capped out now. He's like, I knew this day would come eventually.
Yeah, I mean, my thought up until I'm 36 years old, so I'm changing now. But I'd like to say up until 35. I was if the banks will give you money, you take the money.
Yeah,
and that has compounded to an absolute ton of debt. But it's strategic debt. Yeah. So, I don't think I've made the best decisions, but I think I'm making better decisions moving forward because of the amount of risk we've taken on over the years. Well, in that project particularly too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That was fun. We'll do it again.
Yeah, we'll do more Q&A. Thanks, everyone.